Hello and welcome, fellow YBA adventurers, and welcome back to the second installment of the tier list series. And I think I have to be the unluckiest person on planet Earth because so much has changed since I started work on part 1. See, my tier list ranks the time it would take, on average, to get a certain shiny. So, to start, I measured the average time it takes for me to simply roll a single stand, which includes the time it would take to find a Roka and arrow. Except, Uzuki decided to come out of his internal update slumber to slap me in the face harder than Chris Rock with not one, not even 5, but 2 separate Roka and arrow spawn rate buffs. And I'll tell ya, Uzuki, you messed with the wrong fucking guy. If this is a test of my faith and determination to the craft that is tier listing, well, you are better off banning the admins of Diego's Dauntless server or demoting Paragon over this. Because Uzu, nothing, absolutely nothing can stop me from my final, eternal life goal of uniting the community under one single factual tier list! Except for SBR. For a quick refresher, the basic concept of this tier list is to rank the average time it would take to obtain the shinies in the tier list. And I've decided to somewhat automate this process by putting them all in a spreadsheet and calculating this final time from the average time it would take to even have a chance at rolling that shiny, like how long it would take to find a ribbon Roka, or an arrow in a Roka, or to obtain a Requiem arrow and Star Platinum, and so on and so forth. Then, all you need to do is multiply it by the odds that you get that shiny from that time you roll your bets. Last video, I finished up with all the arrow shinies, but this video I'm going to be going through and correcting, well, literally everything. Because of the wondrous new item spawn rates, which I guess I can't complain about, I'm all the way back at square one, squandering around the YBA Adventure map to find 5 Rokas, 5 arrows, and use them both. Let's get this started, shall we? I just recorded the new averages for finding Rokas and arrows, and oh my god, I think I'll just have the footage speak for itself. The time I recorded to find 5 Rokas and arrows was 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Only 19 seconds short of my previous estimate of 3 whole minutes for 1 Roka and 1 arrow. 40 seconds is our new average for finding a Roka and arrow set. Added together with the time it takes to use those items, with the new fast dialogues being a mere 25 seconds, we have our new estimate to roll an arrow stand. 1 minute and 5 seconds for every single roll, which I'll round down to 1 minute. 3 times lower than before. So, without further ado, here's the final tier list before we get into evolution and ribcage stands. So that part about this being the final tier list before evolutions and ribcages, yeah, that was a lie. As I said just a few seconds ago, I took every skin down to 1 minute per roll, except for a small little caveat. Limited shinies, obviously, did not take a minute per roll because this was before arrow and Roka rates were buffed. So I kept the waifu V1 at 3 minutes per roll, took all the Halloween shinies to 3.5 since stands took longer to roll back then, and I took all the Christmas shinies to 2.5 per roll since item spawn rates were doubled during the Christmas event. Thanks Funny Pun for catching that. Speaking of which, Christmas also doubled pity rates, so I buffed the Christmas shinies from 2.5 base pity to 3, meanwhile nerfing Halloween shinies down to 2. For the record, all other shinies remain at 4 pity, except for the Waifu V1, which didn't have double pity like we have today. So she stays down at 2 pity with all the Halloween shinies. I'll just run through the rest of the changes as fast as possible so this video doesn't become a snooze fest. I reversed Taikoizu Dragon's exponent from 2.2 for every other Christmas shiny to the reciprocal of 2.2, 0.45 repeating, since taking a number less than 1 and putting it to the power of a number greater than 1, say 0.5 to the power of 2, well, smartasses, I think that would decrease the resulting number. Wouldn't make sense to decrease Taikoizu's value with the exponent, so the value's buff now. I also realized, way too goddamn late, that Comic Venom Spider-Man and Venom were swapped around, so I put them back to where they're supposed to be. And finally, I rebalanced the tiers to make them look less cluttered. Here's the final result. And here we are! But even before we get to adding evolutions and SBR stands, something about this tier list still irks me. And that is the unfairness of grouping stands together into a single rarity. See, how this tier list works is that it doesn't provide the exact length of time it takes to obtain that exact shiny. Rather, it provides the exact length of time it takes to obtain a shiny of that tier. Take, for example, the 3 Musketeers of shitty recolors: Hierophant Piss, Big Black Hierophant, and Hierophant Lean. In a tier list where we rank by time spent to obtain the exact shiny, since Hierophant Piss shares the common tier with Big Black Hierophant and Hierophant Lean, if you roll Hierophant Green and you roll the skin chance, you only have a 20% chance of getting Hierophant Piss, and a 30% chance of getting Eldritch Green. That would put these mischievous 3 up above Eldritch Green, but that fails to see the bigger picture. See, the bigger picture is that a common shiny is inherently valued less than an uncommon shiny of the same stand. That's how rarities work. So if you said Hierophant Piss was overpay for Eldritch Green, you'd look like you just escaped a mental hospital, covered in your own urine. The solution I came up for that problem, last video, was to instead rank shinies by the time it would take to roll a shiny of that general tier, not that shiny itself. And that works wonders for the bottom of the tier list. Eldritch Green gets its justice with the 3 Musketeers of being more worthless than a rat's left testicle, but the top of the tier list, well, you can see for yourself. Magician's Red Over Heaven ends up rarer than OVA Platinum, despite the fact that OVA Platinum, in reality, is nearly 3 times rarer than Magician's Red Over Heaven. But OVA Platinum shares the uncommon rarity with Baseball Platinum and Star Waifu, making it 3 times less valuable when you group all 3 rarities into the same uncommon rarity for Star Platinum. OVA Platinum drops from a 1 in 16.7 thousand chance to get specifically OVA Platinum to 1 in 5.6 thousand chance to get either OVA Platinum, Star Waifu, or Baseball Platinum. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth, because at the end of the day, there are tons upon metric tons of people lining up to trade their liver and their newborn baby for OVA Platinum or Star Waifu. To my knowledge, they're some of the most desired skin in the game, and for good reason. One is smoking hot! I mean, awooga! And the other one's a girl, I guess. So why should these skins have to suffer under Magician's Red Over Heaven and Elf Pistols? Ugh. Just because of Uzu's sins of adding 3 different identical fucking recolors to Hierophant Green. So, I had an idea. As we've gone over before, what makes the difference between OVA Platinum and Hierophant Piss is whether or not people want it. OVA Platinum has some actual demand behind it. After all, it's an actually good-looking skin, so people will go out of their ways to try to find it. Therefore, it has more value than, say, Magician's Red Over Heaven, which people roka half the time since Magician's Red is so boring to play. Hierophant Piss, on the other hand, has near 0 value because nobody wants shitty recolors. Eldritch Green is, in technicality, more common than Hierophant Piss, but Eldritch Green has more value because, well, people would rather have that than a recolor. So, I know I said at the very start of this that this tier list wouldn't have any sort of demand built into it whatsoever. But I couldn't leave my perfect tier list so disfigured like this. So, I held a poll. Join the Discord down below for future polls and future updates to the tier list. the simplest poll known to man. Do you want this shiny? If a shiny gets more yeses than no's, it will be ranked by how long it takes to get that specific shiny. If a shiny gets more no's than yeses, it will be ranked by how long it takes to get that rarity of that stand. For example, any common Hierophant green skin instead of the specific Hierophant green skin. In turn, wanted shinies can increase in value, as they should, while unwanted shinies can stay down where they belong. Basically, the most rudimentary incorporation of demand ever possible. And before I reveal to you my wonderful tier list V8, here's an honorable mention tier list, where I just whipped up the percentages of people who wanted that shiny. No value whatsoever, just the will of the people, all put together as one. Welcome to the true man's world. Now, before you fucking track me down and choke me to death, this tier list is in no way meant to be used to trade. It's more of a reference, I guess. A reference to see the demand for a skin in its purest form. No value whatsoever. I mean, you have stands like Golden Frieza and Misaka Mikoto that are currently some of the most valuable arrow stands in the game, all the way down to an E tier. While for some reason, Jade Peace and Heaven Spirit are all the way up in S and SS, despite being pretty easy to obtain compared to nearly all the other S and SS tiers. I guess it's more of a general statement on how trading and tier lists work in this game. You can have some of the most valuable skins in the game, but as long as they either look bad, are in a stand people don't like to use, or God forbid, both, then people will undervalue it, because at the end of the day, people just don't want it. But that doesn't mean we should trade based on demand only. If you were starving and all you wanted was a juicy, delectable McDouble for $2.39, it doesn't mean you go up to the McDonald's cashier and trade them the pure gold $15,000 100-year-old Rolex on your wrist. Sure, in the moment a burger is of more use to you than a wristwatch, but that doesn't change the fact that the values of those two things are completely different. A McDouble is mass-produced, easy to make, while pure gold is hard to come by. And that's why I don't trust DDS or PKers with tier lists, because those tier lists are 75% demand, with a little value sprinkled in to ease the rage boners of limited shiny collectors. Paragon's comes close, but it's 100% value. There's no real consideration for limited skins. What I want from my tier list is, say, 95% value with 5% demand sprinkled in there whenever needed. And I don't expect people to take it fully 100% literally. No, not at all. At the end of the day, if you want to make double, you buy a McDouble. Even if the $2.39 you used to buy it was maybe a little overpriced. Demand is an important part of trading, but it fluctuates like the tide, and making tier lists based off of it, to put it simply, is horseshit. You can tell the demand for something by just looking at the goddamn trading channel, on any day of the week, at any hour. Value, however, is more ambiguous, and it's consistent. Value doesn't fluctuate until Uzu updates the game, whenever that will be. Value stays nearly forever, and at the end of the day, people aren't going to be trading Heaven Spirit for one above all. But they most certainly can break a few boundaries and trade Heaven Spirit for Baseball Platinum. Baseball Platinum is definitely rarer and higher value, but at the end of the day, I don't give a shit! I want to play Golden Experience, so I'm gonna play Golden Experience, even if I pay a little over. What I'm trying to say is that there's a little demand built into every trade, but most of it should be value-based. You can overpay a little, you can underpay a little, based on your demand. But when you go up and start valuing shit based on demand, well, that's just not how the world works. So, with that full legal disclaimer out of the way, I present to you my final tier list before Evolution and Ribcage Shinies. Finally, and I goddamn mean it this time. Without further ado, feast your eyes on tier list B8. It's beautiful. Even the equally valued shinies are now ranked by demand. It is the perfect tier list. And if you disagree, well, I'm sorry to say it, but you're just goddamn wrong. Believe all you want about demand, DDS, the PKers, whatever. But I have facts. I have logic to back my claims up. You can't disagree with this tier list because it's not an opinion. It's a fact. These placements aren't based on my opinion. They're based solely on data. And that's what I love about this tier list. No more beating around the bush. No more lazy point system or over-the-top poll after poll after poll. This is a new era of trading, Joes. Welcome to the Enlightenment. And I do want to point out, this tier list may be based in facts, but that doesn't mean you have to take it 100% literally. Because guys, this might be crazy to hear, but in real life, that's just not how trading works. In fact, trading in real life is built upon the very art of negotiation. The art of getting what you want at a price that you want. This refrigerator I found here on Craigslist could very well be worth hundreds, but the guy you're talking to wants it out as soon as possible. So you give him, maybe a 50 and change. Meanwhile, there's this brand new microwave that just came out, and since so many people want it, they're overpricing it when they have tons more in production and on the way. Not even in the real world do people stay strictly under the umbrella of value. This tier list isn't a holy scripture to say, if you don't trade this exact shiny for this exact shiny, you are a fucking clown and you need to hang yourself. No. This tier list means to say, these are the objective values, use them how you want. It's a guide, not a rulebook. So, at the end of the day, here's the thought for you. Do you think it's really the tier list's at fault? The Paragon tier list, the DDS tier list, the PKers tier list, etc.? Or do you think it's the people who misuse it? The people who threaten and dox you, call you a clown just for trying out a trade that could be outside the typical value range. Thank you all so much for watching. Wait, fuck! Oh my god, I forgot Evolution and Ribcage shinies again! What the fuck? Stay tuned, Joes. Part 3 will come. The tier list to end all of tier lists. Very, very soon. Make sure to join the Discord to stay up to date on the tier list and just to talk to me and all my wondrous fans if you ever wish. And I'll see you all next time. Sayonara.